It's Rick without the K. James presents, in my opinion, podcast.
Don't forget to hit the subscribe button, as well as the notification bell. Thank you for watching. I guess I'm asking this question because my younger brother is an attorney, right? So we have, well, when I did talk to him, we had these conversations.
Right.
And the whole Bill Cosby thing happened. And when he went away, my brother and I had that conversation where my brother was like, well, the law states he should get out. And I said, because he made the agreement.
Yeah, absolutely. He had the right to not incriminate himself. He is a wealthy enough man. He could have obfuscated. They made a deal and said, "Tell us, and we won't prosecute you. And if we do, we won't use this information." And then somebody else came and blew that deal up. So constitutionally, the Supreme Court did what they were supposed to do. I believe Bill Cosby was guilty of those crimes, but I also believe that the way it was structured, he should have never been in jail for them because they made a deal. There was financial recompense. You said this was settled, and then in the light of a new kind of energy in America, a light of a new kind of the whole Me Too and going back in time and looking at things from the prism of now and then, I think he got caught up in it. Didn't mean that he didn't do it. Like if you since the '60s, Bill Cosby has been drugging brothers. This nigga drug brothers so long he could have retired from it. Like literally, it's people that don't work at the post office that long. But ultimately, now they've amended the law so that now they're in California. At least there's no statute of limitations. Bill Cosby changed the course of black people in the United States of America. I think his show and his affect showed America that black people were fathers and responsible people. I think without Cosby, you don't have this influx of people going to college. I think that without Cosby, there's no Obama and the era of politicians that he ushered in after him. So Bill Cosby did all those things. He also was a rapist. Those are I can hold those two thoughts in my head at the same time.
And I guess that's why I brought it up, because most people can't separate the art from the artist.
Sure, I can separate Cliff Huxtable from Bill Cosby. They're not the same. They're not the same. Cliff Huxtable would never rape anybody. Bill Cosby did.
So, I just followed. I think you talked about it on Vlad TV before he went, and then when he went, and I was all, I don't think he touched on it when he got out yet. But
I think he
I was like, I want to touch on it with DL just because I think he knows the ins and outs
for that
and
particular thing. I think that they had adjudicated it, had already been settled. All of a sudden, you go back in time and then use the very words you swore he was protected from against them. And of course, the Supreme Court rightfully upheld. Listen, just because you're guilty doesn't mean you're going to jail. Only really poor, really the predominant people that go to jail in this country are people who don't have means. Everybody else gets a different level of justice, and he could have availed himself to that. He didn't have to tell them what he did. They coerced him to do it. He did it, and then they used the words that they said they wouldn't use against him. And the law rightfully saw that was illegal.
Huh. Again, right there with it.
Yeah.
You've heard it here first, people. I wanted to ask you about COVID. I know you had it. I know you've been telling people to get a vaccine.
Sure.
And the only reason I bring it up is because during the day, I'm a nurse, and that's all I've been doing is giving out these damn COVID vaccines.
Right.
But I also tell people I'm also in that part of my career where I don't want to be a nurse no more. I think when I started, I started in the military in '99,
right.
and then I got my nursing license in 2006. And when I started, I tell people I did it because I thought I was helping out, and I've realized the only people I'm helping are these organizations to make profit sometimes.
I don't know that that's true. I think that you probably help a lot more people than you realize, but it's a fair assessment. And I think in the light of COVID changed a lot of things. It changed mentalities, habits, the ways we did things, but it also people like you and a lot of people, they call this more people are quitting jobs and leaving occupations and employment in lieu of what they always wanted to do, and nothing does that like you seeing your mortality, seeing that much death. Whatever they ascribe this to, more people died in this time than in any other time in our history. More people died. Black people lost an average life expectancy of 3 years. Latins 2 years, white people. So life expectancy went down. So people so seeing all that carnage, the death, and also the beauty. I think it was a beauty in watching people become this other thing because of something that was so terrible. It's absolutely right and human to go. This doesn't fulfill me anymore. I want to do something else. People are doing it everywhere. The people are not working not because they're lazy. I resent the notion that a bunch of people who work 4 months a year tell other people they fucking lazy. It means they don't want to do this anymore. And it's a brave thing to leave what you have been trained for and have done and saw your way, took care of your family and got you to 103 years of being out of this child support burden, and to do what you love. That's a brave thing. I do. I think it's one of the bravest things anybody ever does. One of the bravest thing anybody does is love a person or a thing.
What I wanted to ask is because you had COVID last year, right?
did.
So you were hospitalized, and there had to have been a bill that came after that.
I didn't.
And I
didn't
asked
see
that because I had a friend who was just recently hospitalized. We worked together at Department of Corrections together, and his bill for 10 days was $102,000.
Sure.
But luckily, he worked for Department of Corrections,
Sure.
so they covered most of
Right.
it. But I told him, I said, man, do you really think that care? And of course, like I'm saying it comedically, like, do you really think that care was
Well,
worth
I think that-
102,000?
no, it
and that's
wasn't.
what I'm saying is I see the price
Yeah, but you
price
also have-
gouging
What-
and the
sure, but that doesn't. You're a cog in the wheel in terms of and we're all at the mercy of our medical, and I think it's because most people around the world become doctors to help. In America, that might be an element of it, but they also become doctors to become rich. And you have insurance companies who feel the same thing. And you have people who invest in those companies. And people who invest in pharmaceutical companies. They're in their 401ks. They're in their mutual funds. I just think that it should be a sin in a nation that declares that it is a Christian nation to be so. The quality of care that you get, your chances for having a successful outcome depend on either the money that you have or the access to insurance. And I think at a very certain basic level, people shouldn't die of the things they do in such a wealthy land.
I definitely agree with you, and I feel like either in this country you either got to be really poor so government can subsidize your health care and they can pay for it, or you've got to be really rich so they can take care of you. But that middle person, and I only say that deal because I don't know if you noticed on there and right here, I've got 9 fingers because I got in a bad car accident in the year 2000. And I tell people I was on my way. I'm originally from El Paso, Texas, and I was on my way from Vegas to Texas with my older brother, and we flipped over the car. I ended up getting medevac because we had just entered New Mexico State, which is like 2.5 hours away from civilization, and I had a $60,000 bill back then for the helicopter ride, this, that, and the other. And my insurance, because I was in the military at the time, was TRICARE. And they didn't pick up the bill. And their reason for it was you didn't get prior authorization. And I said, man, I'm sitting here and I've got a nice scar on my head. I've got it hanging down, but I'm supposed to pick up that phone and be like, hey, can I be seen by a doctor now? So
I think it's so expensive to be poor in America that no one can afford to do it. And the middle class is shrinking, the wealth is getting, the middle class is shrinking, the poor is swelling, and the wealthy are getting more wealthy. We have an inequitable system, and I think from your perspective, being somebody who was Florence Nightingale, was there to heal and to make things better, now see how frustrating and what a sham that is, and I can understand it. But ultimately, it's incumbent on us all. See, we all co-opt the language of the poor. We have their stories. Everybody has this great poor stories about how my father came with no money in his pocket and didn't speak English, or I grew up here and I came from the mud. And then when we ascend, we forget all about them. We adopt the language of the poor. We promise ourselves to never forget where we came from. And forgetting what you came from is not about shouting your street out or being proud of your neighbor. It's about remembering that where you came from, there are people who are just like you, who may not have the advantages you did, and there's an obligation. It's obligatory to make sure that you do the best you can. So not only the people who came before you come, but people that came from all over, get get an equitable sense of being just a human being. And humans shouldn't have the things happen to them here. But there's such a connection to wealth and power and privilege. And we believe that if he has something, that's less for me. As opposed to understanding that part of the rent you pay for being, and Muhammad Ali said this, is service to another human being. That's part of the reason you're here. That's the rent you pay for existing. And a lot of people seem to forget that.
So do you think there's any way that we could fix it here in
Sure.
this
I
country?
think we got to decide to.
By electing the right officials to do it, or
and listen, officials are tools just like hammers and saws and nails. You can use them to make a shitty house, or you can use them to make a house that can withstand things. We're building some pretty shitty houses.
And I'll use the example because I think you talked about Purdue on one of your yes,
Yeah.
Purdue, and I've heard about it, but I didn't. And then the show Dope Sick came out. Don't know if you've watched it.
Yeah, I have.
Oh man, I couldn't stop
Euphoria, all
watching
of
it.
it.
Like
It's over.
it just, and coming from a nurse's standpoint as well.
You are the roughest looking nurse I've ever seen.
I didn't say I do pediatrics. Right?
Thank God. If I saw you coming in, I could walk. Let's see.
I tell people that's why I normally worked at Department of Corrections.
Yeah.
That's it. And I've
You
worked
look
at
like them.
and I've worked at female prisons
Right.
and male prisons. I prefer working at female prisons because I never felt so sexy in my life.
Of course.
So, there was one thing on the show that I didn't even realize, like the pain scale thing that they came up with. I remember that as a nurse, them pushing us, giving us, in-servicing, and hey, make sure that's the new vital sign. Make sure you know what their pain is. Because Purdue was basically putting it in everybody's head that they wanted everybody to be in pain, right?
So of course, look at all the shit they used to do to doctors. Some sales rep would come see a doctor, give him script, give him free drugs to pass out, and the goal was you wanted that doctor to write your drug, right?
Yes.
So you took him to dinner, took him on trips, played golf with him, right?
Mm-hmm.
You basically lobbied. Your job was to get in a car, visit these doctors, smooth them, and get them to push your product. You basically had them on the street for you. They were your drug dealer. And we're a nation that is so averse to pain. We medicate with alcohol, with drugs, with shopping, with gambling, with sex, because we really can't take pain. One of the great things about being black and brown in an era like this is that either we don't have insurance, or oftentimes medical providers believe that we're more impervious to pain than we are. So we missed a lot of the opiate kind of, the crack got us, but not the prescription thing is bad. And really it's because of medical bias. And I think it just says a lot, and how much sway that the people from the insurers to the pharmaceutical companies have over us. Even though Purdue was found good, they played it out. Nothing happened to them. Nobody went to jail. They paid a little money. And
They
they
switched business names, and
That's it.
they shut down their company, right, and opened something
it.
else, and so it was just sickening watching Dope Sick, where he was like, man, and then
Well, you
I
didn't have
think
to
that's-
watch Dope Sick to see Dope Sick. Listen, most of the people in prison, 90 in the upper percentiles of people in prison are there for drug-related crimes. Not even necessarily violent ones, but drug-related crimes. We've jailed our addicts now. We got them addicted, and then we decided the best way to deal with them was to put them away, warehouse them. So we drug them, and then we spirit them away. We basically are doing what kidnappers do.
No, I just had a conversation with someone, I want to say yesterday or the day before, and we talked about an addict stopping using drugs, and they go, and they act like, and I go, yeah, if you've done drugs for years and years and years, your synapses in your brain aren't working
Try to
the way.
not drink coffee. Try to not eat sugar. Try to not eat fatty foods when that's been your life. You are addicted to those things, and your body reacts when it has something. Even a clock that don't work is right 2 times a day, right? So obviously it is functioning in the best way it can with the kind of adverse circumstances it finds itself in. I just think, and to me, comedy's all those things. Just seeing those unvarnished things and carving a perspective that you think is relatable enough to be on stage. Now you know I'm gonna finish drinking and smoking, so stick around. You know, you are a nurse. I might need something.
Boy, Charlie Murphy, my main man, Ric James. That's the one you think, the comedian Ric James. Get up.
I can't hear my neighbor crying, I can't breathe.
Don't forget to hit the subscribe button, as well as the notification bell. Thank you for watching.